Can you talk a little bit about the printing press in the basement and sort of your exposure to books through your father? And I mean, you had an early experience.
So
with
that was the
publishing.
other thing. I mean, you talk about, like, people talk about privilege, right? And privilege comes in all sorts of, guises, and anybody who looked at, my neighborhood and where I grew up and, what my family structure was like would not conclude that I was privileged. But in fact, I really, really was. My dad, who was a lot like me, had, done horrible in school, but was one of these kids who, really, really read a lot. He dropped out of college when he was 16, lied about his age, went off into the Vietnam War, came out, really, really radicalized, and believed in reading and education, and self-education, I should say, for African Americans, really as a means of liberation, which is something that we've kind of lost in our discussions these days about the purpose of education. But my dad very much believed in that. Started a small publishing company, which he ran out of his basement, which later evolved into a publishing company and a printing press. And so I say all that to say that when I was growing up, there were books like all around me. There were books everywhere, and books, particularly on the African American experience, just all around me. I mean, books in the basement, books in the garage, books in my bedroom, books in my parents' bedroom, books in the kitchen, living room, dining room, everywhere. The house was like a giant library itself. So it's very interesting because all the things that I write about today, like, in many ways I'm a ringer. Like, I had like a 16-year head start, in the sense of, when people, become aware and start thinking about these things. I was aware, you cut on TV and you see, a show like The Wonder Years, which was my favorite show when I was a kid. And you know that where Kevin Arnold lives is a lot different than where you live. And the answers for why that was true was all around me in my house. I was lucky in that sort of way. And that really, probably seeded that idea that knowledge is out there for you to get. And that's something I really try to, bestow on the kids. They don't always quite get it, but I try to, get them to go out there